Welcome to Through the Ruth, where we explore life inside the walls we call home and the lives we build within them. I'm Ruth, property professional, storyteller and lover of all things home. Each week, we'll open the door to real stories behind the scenes of the property industry, design, inspiration and practical tips for shifting house, creating calm spaces and keeping your home safe, secure and beautifully comfortable. Because whether you own, rent or simply dream, everyone deserves to feel at home. So make yourself at home. You're listening to Through the Ruth. Thank you for joining me again. There are places you could walk back into and instantly remember a version of yourself that doesn't exist anymore. Not because that place changed, but because you did. It might be a house you haven't seen in years, a rental you only stayed in for a short time, a bedroom that held more than your life than you realized whilst you were in it. And if you close your eyes for a moment, you can almost place yourself there again. Not just physically, but emotionally. The way you used to think, the things that mattered to you, the worries you carried, the routines you followed without questioning. It's strange. A space can hold a version of you so clearly, even when you've moved on. In Australia, most people will move homes multiple times throughout their lives, often every 5 to 7 years, and each of those places quietly becomes a marker, not just where you lived, but who you were while you lived there. Because homes don't just hold furniture, they hold identity. There's a version of you that existed in your first place. Maybe everything felt new, uncertain, a little unsteady. You were figuring things out, learning how to exist independently, trying to build routines that felt like your own. And maybe you didn't realize at the time, but that version of you was becoming something. Then there are the homes that came after, the ones that carried different seasons. A space where things felt calm, or one where everything felt overwhelming. A home where you felt deeply connected, or one where you felt quietly alone. Each one holds a different story and a different version of you. There are homes tied to growth, where something shifted, where you learned something you couldn't unlearn. And there are homes tied to survival, where you were just getting through, holding things together, doing the best you could with what you had. Not every home is chosen in the way we imagine. Some are taken out of necessity, because of finances, because of timing, because life didn't leave space for something else. Shared houses, temporary places, spaces that didn't quite feel like your home. But even those homes, they leave something behind. Because even in the places we didn't choose, we still lived, we still changed, we still became someone slightly different. And sometimes those are the places that shape us the most. There's also something that happens when you look back. You don't just remember the home, you remember yourself inside it. The way you spoke, the way you reacted to things, and the way you saw your life at that time. And sometimes that can feel distant. You might look back and think, I would have handled things differently if it were now. I've grown since then. I see things differently. And sometimes there's a quiet kind of gratitude in that. Because growth doesn't always feel obvious when you're in it. It happens slowly. In small decisions, in repeated patterns, in moments where you choose something different, even slightly. Until one day you're no longer the same person who lived in that space. But that version of you still exists somewhere. Not in the physical way, but in a memory. In the way certain songs take you back, or certain smells, or certain quiet moments where something feels familiar for no clear reason. It's like those versions of you are still being held somewhere within the walls that you once lived between, in those memories. And maybe that's why leaving a home can feel so layered. It's not about packing boxes. It's about stepping away from a version of your life and a version of yourself. Even if you're ready to leave, even if it's the right decision, there's still something being left behind, because that version of you belonged there. And at the same time, you're stepping into something new, a space that doesn't know you yet, a place that hasn't held your routines, your thoughts, your patterns. And for a while, it can feel unfamiliar because you haven't become that version of yourself yet that new home is going to make you. But slowly it happens again. You bring your habits with you, you create new ones, you shape the space, and the space in its own quiet way shapes you. And over time, another version of you begins to exist there, something that in the future will again be a memory. I think there's something comforting in the fact that you can always change to the new position, the new place that you're at. The idea that home isn't just one fixed thing, that's something that evolves alongside of you. That no matter where you go, you have the ability to change something that holds your life. Something that supports you, something that reflects who you are, not perfectly, but honestly, and who you are at that time, and who you're going to be. And maybe that's where the safety comes in. Because a safe home isn't always about structure. It's about how you feel within it, whether you can rest, whether you can be yourself, whether you can exist without constantly adjusting who you are whilst you're there. And sometimes that sense of safety is something we learn to build over time, through trial and error, through different homes, through different versions of ourselves, until we begin to understand what it is that we need. Not what looks good, not what compares well, but what actually supports us. And that understanding often comes from all the places we've already been, all the versions of ourselves we've already lived through. So maybe the goal isn't to find one perfect home, maybe it's to recognize the value in each one, the lessons, the growth, the way each space held you, even if it wasn't ideal. Because every home you've lived in has contributed to the person that you are now. Even the temporary ones, even the difficult ones, even the ones you wouldn't go back to, they're still part of your story. So if you ever find yourself thinking about the place that you used to live and a version of yourself that feels far away now, take a moment, not to wish you were back there, but to acknowledge it, that version of you, what you were carrying, what you were learning, what you were becoming. Because you didn't just leave that home, you grew out of it. And in doing that, you created space for who you are right now and for whoever you're still becoming. Thanks for listening again. I hope you join me for the next one. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow Through the Ruth wherever you get your podcasts. And if you've got a story about your home and your experiences, I would love to hear from you. You can reach out, ruth@thepmboutique.com.au. So until next time, take a deep breath, look around and remember, home is what you make it.